um, everything that I use it for work and stuff is just all the stuff that's just on the web. Um, I'm assuming that no one has ArcMap on their computers, so I'm not going to get into any like making nice fancy maps. This is just kind of looking for info really quick.
Yes.
So just my background. So sometimes I need to just, if I'm starting a project, I might just need to look to see if wetlands are around, that type of thing. So this isn't really, um, I don't really have that deep of a knowledge on ArcMap and all that kind of stuff. This is more just helps me find things quickly so I can kind of like move on. So I can kind of go through some of the web stuff I use, and then if anybody had a question, that's sweet. So I can just start sharing my screen if you want, or if anybody wants to
That sounds
ask a
good.
question or
Yeah, I feel go ahead, share your screen, and yeah,
okay,
if people have
cool,
questions as we go along or anything in particular, like once we kind of get the gist of it, I think that'll be
cool.
good. Thank you.
Yeah, one sec. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
just kind of basics, I was just gonna kind of run through some of the things that might be helpful to you guys. And I know like I'm kind of going into this kind of like open space committee, kind of like me and Andrea's kind of like wheelhouse of like just wanting to know about Plymouth, you know, who owns what, that type of thing, where there's trails, like that was the kind of stuff me and Andrea were interested when we were in the open space committee. But if anybody wants to chime in, interrupt, that's fine with me. So first, a couple of quick ones is, Plymouth itself has a couple of resources just on their website. They have their GIS with a bunch of layers that has some helpful things. And then they have a water access one, which I'll just show you real quick if you've never seen it before. Um, so the first one is their GIS. So if you ever go on the town of Plymouth's website, I'm assuming, has anybody ever gone on this one?
Never seen it.
Okay, so this is right on Plymouth's website. You open it up. This is kind of the default screen. For whatever reason, it only has the state layer, uh, state-owned land layer on, and then also the buildings are on. So when you open this up, you'll notice you have a bunch of layers that you can turn on and off, um, just by the eyeball.
Mm.
Um, and then if anything's ever grayed out like this, all that means is you're not zoomed in enough to see it. And then once you zoom in far enough, um, it'll not be gray anymore and they'll pop up. It's just kind of a scale thing. Um, so yeah, so you open up the so that has you have a bunch of layers. It has limited trails. And if you click this little arrow here, um, you can see which trails are available. So it has a few town-owned trails to show the buildings, obviously, that I just showed you. You can turn parks on and off, and they're all labeled. Um, so you click on it, it tells you what it is. Um, Massachusetts parcel. So if you want parcel information, um, for anywhere, so I'll kind of go to my neighborhood. So you can kind of see, you zoom in, you can see everyone's parcel, you can click on it, you can see who owns it, things like that.
How up to date is it, Nate?
Ugh, that's tough to say. Um, it's at least 2024 because this person subdivided their land, and I only know that because they're my neighbor. And it's showing that. So it's relatively up to date.
Okay, because the state interactive the property map is Plymouth hadn't fed it in a couple of years at least.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder. Was it just because you asked, I was yeah, I mean it's showing it here too. So this should be, oh, here we go. 2022 it looks like. I don't know if that's the last time.
Yeah, I think it is. It's 3 years. I was gonna give Joe a ping and find out what what's going on there.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how often stuff like that's updated.
Most towns update it at least annually, maybe every other year. We're way behind.
Um, yeah, so anyway, so this one is pretty basic. It only gives you a certain amount of layers. You can actually kind of move them around if you want to something to pop to the front, and the shading changes slightly. But that's kind of not super effective. Um, and
So
then it has,
this is the one on the Plymouth website.
yeah, we're still on the one of the
Okay.
Plymouth website. So one of the things I find useful for this is if you're, like, for instance, me and Andrea, sometimes we'd have to look up tax title properties. So on on this one, you can search by parcel ID, which it just is real quick and convenient if you want to find something, and you know the parcel ID, or if you know the address too, you can use that. But a lot of times we look at databases with just parcel IDs. It's just super easy to search. So this is, for instance, this is a tax title property owned by the town of Plymouth. So if you kind of wanted to know where it was real quick, I'll jump on the town's one. I just think it's somewhat convenient for that. And you can go on, like, there's like databases called like Patriot Property, so you could find the parcel ID, then you can go to this map and find out the location. Um, and then the other things that, like, fire hydrants, things like that, I'm assuming aren't super, I've never actually turned on till just that moment. So, and then town-owned lands. So town-owned lands will show you everything the town of Plymouth owns. And that also includes textile properties, which was nice for what I used to use it for. And like I said, it shows limited trails, so you can turn this on. And then I think it shows like Tidmarsh, for instance, is one of the trails. And this is obviously better. Um, yeah, so you can zoom in. And then one of the nice things is of this one is, let's say you wanted to show a map to one of your colleagues and you wanted to show them the trails in Tidmarsh or wherever, Beaver Dam, I think this is. You can just share it. Say it share, copy link. And then if you just paste it into your thing, into your website, it it'll pop up exactly the way you made it. So that way, the person you're giving it to, you can just send them that exact link and it's zoomed in exactly where you want it to be. So if you want to show them a particular property, if you want to show them a trail, whatnot, it's just an easy way to share. There's no easy way to print um, from this one, but I think the shared link is pretty convenient. And then you can just toggle the base map. So it'll change from an aerial to like a Google Street View kind of thing, pretty easily.
And then Nate, turning on like the wetland areas, how do you do that?
So this one doesn't have that.
Oh, okay.
This is just kind of has your basic layers. This is zoning. Um, Probably the closest thing to an environmental receptor that this has is like wellhead protection areas for like public wells.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, historic district. So we can see the historic district.
I don't even know what that is.
Does it show you like water that you can go kayaking on or swim non-swimmable, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so the town does do that. So actually, so that's basically all this does. Helps you find parcels, helps you find some trails, some parks, and then you can obviously a couple of other things. But like I said, pretty limited. But one thing that's nice is you can share a link real quick. Plymouth also on their website has the pond and boat access. I'm assuming anybody's seen this before, or
Never.
No.
okay. So this is on the town website too. And I can give this to Andrea if you guys want. It has the kind of links I'm going through.
Yeah, that would be great, Nate. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can send this out to everyone. That's
Yeah.
great.
So the first one I went through was this one, and then I kind of just said like things I think it's good for, which is like parcel searches, very limited trail info, and then saving and sharing relatively easily. The water access also right on the town's website. And this tells you Again, super basic map, kind of limited to the data it has, but it's convenient for a very specific thing, which is it tells you what ponds are you can public can access, which ones are private, which ones you can park near, which ones have boat ramps, things like that. So if you zoom in on, I don't know the ponds as well as everyone else, but let's say, okay, halfway. So it'll tell you where you can launch a boat.
Hmm.
And then it usually tells you if it's stocked. And then if you actually click this more info button, the PDF is supposed to pop up. We'll see what happens of the depth of the, yeah, it didn't work. It's always a crapshoot.
Where do
Uh,
you see stock?
so yeah, it lists like
Oh,
information.
I see. No.
Yeah, it'll tell you if it's stocked with trout for fishing. It'll tell you what type of boat you can use.
But
Oh,
this
Yeah,
wouldn't
so
be
this
for like kayak launches or anything like that, right? It's just like
no,
power
no,
up.
it does that. So basically, it'll tell you what the boat launch is. So if you click on it, it'll tell you you must launch at Mast Road, and it's a hand launch. So this would be like a kayak.
Oh, okay.
And I think it's supposed to tell you car top. It's supposed to get pretty specific.
Huh.
Um, so car top, and some notes on where to park.
that's nice.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
This is
cool too that like you just click on the pond and it also shows you like how big the pond is. Like if you're ever curious, like the size of the different ponds, like how they compare. I think it was like the bottom area.
yeah.
Mm.
And then red, I assume, means private.
Yeah, there are no public access to Round Pond. There's no public access to Round Pond.
What's like this like super tiny one over there near the highway? That super tiny red one above
Yeah,
that. That like
it's teeny.
above that one though, Nate, like that super like puddle. That one.
Yeah.
It's just yeah. This is just a kettle hole.
Huh.
Um,
Huh.
the overlays are kind of like I even think it has the little drainage pond in my neighborhood listed. I don't know let's see what it calls it. Yeah, it does. See, it just says drainage, so it even shows drainage. This is a little kettle hole, I think, too.
Drainage meaning they made it to hold water or something. Is that what that means?
Yeah, like this is my street, so like
It's
all
like
the basins
Nate,
go to
it's like
that,
town owned
but it's
and
town
like
owned. Yeah,
it's town owned and protected for drainage.
Hmm.
exactly. Yeah,
So it's like not like any type of official use, but it's like
Hmm.
like the geography or whatnot. It's just like it's protected because like runoff goes there and whatnot.
yeah. So
Yep.
yeah, you probably so it does. If you zoom out, it does show quite a bit of random little things you'll probably never even knew were there, but it's just because when this map was created, basically any open water, they just put either a red or blue dot over it. And
Mm.
there was no point in, going through that. So they just have a bunch. So for instance, this is a pretty big pond, publicly owned, but there's no real access. So even though it's public, it's not showing any boat ramp, or parking,
Hmm.
just because of the, homes around it, things like that.
Right, but Bartlett does it. There is state land on the edge of Bartlett that you can get access to the pond from if you want to carry your kayak in.
So what like unofficial public access or something?
Yeah,
Actually, I
If
think
not
right
many people,
about,
maybe you'd have to carry it far or something.
yeah, if you parked on the street or something, I guess maybe they just don't want to advertise it. I have no idea.
yeah.
And so Nate, the town maintains this piece, like boat
You mean this
public
website?
access and boat launches and stuff like that. Do you think?
Not in all cases. Long Pond and Little Long Pond that Nate was showing earlier, that boat ramp between them is a state boat ramp.
Yeah, so if you click, I think it actually tells you ownership. Let's see, parking, shared lot. Um, yeah, so state ramp. So it'll tell you who owns it if you're interested.
Okay.
I even think it shows the ocean boat ramps.
So it's like whether it's the town or the state, it's like an official source is updating this.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. So this is the parking, for this is the state boat ramp,
Mm.
over here. So, and I think it's relatively updated because actually I mean, so when Hampton was talking about, they used to actually show a little boat symbol right here.
Yep.
I'm sorry, right here. I think was it? I forget where it was. I think it was like right here or maybe over here, but they got rid of it. So someone must have complained or something and they changed it.
Mm.
So I do know they keep this relatively updated if
Mm.
you're into that type of recreation. So
Yeah, complain back to David Gould.
David Boom,
Gould.
Gould.
oh, does his department keep this updated?
I would guess that one of his staff walks down the hall to Joe's staff and sort of says, hey, could you take this off or could you add this on?
Yeah, so yeah,
Maybe.
and then it even shows the Miles Standish ones too. Which obviously those are well labeled, but this is a nice and again you can, let's say you were gonna meet your friend over here, you could always just you can hit this little share button. And then hit copy link.
And it would be zoomed in like that? Oh no.
Well,
Whatever. Okay.
anyway, that was supposed to work. I don't know why it just went back, but it was supposed to do the same thing the other website did. But
So
in any event,
this was a trivia question at trivia last Friday about what's the largest pond in Plymouth
By area or by volume?
by area. Hampton, do you know the answer?
Mm,
Great Herring.
I would guess Great Herring.
Okay, you're both right. I did not get that right. But yeah, so somebody sent to prove it, somebody sent a screenshot from, I think it must have been this website, and they clicked on it because I mean, I was just like, okay, I guess I'll Google what's the largest pond in Plymouth, and that was like not a super accurate way to do it because a lot of people were saying it was Great South or Billington Sea, and apparently it is Great
Which one's
Herring
Billington
Pond.
Sea? This one?
Yes. Is that what it-
Nope.
Great-
Great South.
No.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's almost twice as big.
Yeah, so Great Herring Pond is the answer to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so then if we go to the state website, then we can see like the wetland layers and like areas of critical concern and things like that.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah. So yeah, so there's specific, so yeah, so that one you can go to real quick. So this is just the mass parcel map that Hampton referenced earlier. This one's nice and real quick. I'll go through this one, but this one's nice because when you click on them, it just pops up real quick. That's
I
why
love it.
I kind of
I
like this one a little better than the Plymouth one where you kind of got to type it in, then like pops to the side. This is a little more convenient if you just want to get something real quick.
Yep.
So
Would you just Google that Massachusetts interactive property map and this would pop up?
yes, and this is the link, and like I said, I'll share this. I'll
Yeah,
share this.
Kirsten, I'll send this document out to everyone.
Okay.
Nate said he'd send it to me, so we'll all have the list of links.
Terrific. That's wonderful.
And then another reason I like that one for just real quick stuff is it has a pretty extensive imagery background that's really easy to navigate. So if you just click on base map, you can change the base map to like, 1990 versus today. If you ever,
Huh.
want to see what Home Depot used to look like before it was built or something like that. So I like how easily it is to toggle the base maps on this one. It's just relatively like user friendly, even though it's limited to only a few layers, which are basically just the property info. So, all right, so I'll close that one out. That one out. Oh, and then if you just wanted to know about like regulatory maps, like without turning things on and off, you just wanted to know about is there a wetland? Is it national heritage, endangered species, things like that. There's basically 3 really fast regulatory maps you can click on, and these are the links. So you just, you know, you click on the link and then you just click interactive map, and then it automatically only has these three things open, which are I'm sorry, these two things open, which is basically, endangered species. If you were curious, like where the endangered species kind of areas are marked in Plymouth.
Yeah, go down to Cedarville.
And then you can click on what it, like when it was entered, which I don't know much about that kind of stuff, but um, is this Cedarville? This is Cedarville, right?
Little north, yeah, that's good.
This is showing us rare habitat, rare species. So does that mean everything in yellow?
Yeah, well, there's priority, and then I don't really know. Like I said, for work, we just kind of have to just check this real quick to see what we have to do for permitting. But
I'm just trying to understand. Okay. So something
yeah,
within those yellow boundaries is habitat.
yep. And then you can actually click this link, and it tells you more information about the priority habitats. So it tells you
Okay.
So it
just
doesn't specifically say like what species or anything like that.
nope.
Nope.
Just
Interesting.
gives you an area,
Hmm.
so that way you know if like well, for me, it tells me if I can work in that area without a permit or not. So
Okay, so if you want to work in that area, you need a special permit.
yeah, you would need to map those areas, that kind of thing, double check them.
So, okay, so in Cedarville, I'm trying to like orient myself a little bit because, so like okay, Ellisville Harbor.
Yeah, yeah, Hedges Pond Road, PH 521.
So it's like, what is that property?
Zoom in, yeah.
Oh, it's conservation.
Oh,
No,
that's like the old dump. That's the area that's been of,
71 Hedges Pond Road.
that's the property that's been of much debate.
And
It,
yeah,
and that's the one where like Google has it labeled Cedarville Conservation Area, but it's not Cedarville
It-
Conservation Area. That's not a thing.
it
Oh,
states right here, Cedarville Conservation Area.
But my understanding is that's not a thing, Cedarville Conservation Area.
Well, not anymore.
what do you mean?
I mean
But
that
it wasn't Everhampton.
um,
Are you talking about 1992
I'm
town
talking
meeting?
about the whole history of the property.
See, okay, I'm gonna have to send a screenshot of this over to Patrick because this is a property we've talked about a lot with the Open Space Committee because somebody was like, "Oh, Google Maps says this is Cedarville Conservation Area." So we looked back at the history back to 1992 when there was a citizens petition to town meeting, and basically there was a citizens petition that wanted to create this conservation area, but they didn't follow through in the way that was necessary, so it wasn't legally binding. And then there was like a swap. Anyways, now it's in private hands, and it's this whole debate about this sand and gravel mining situation.
Oh,
But there
that's
was like
where
a
that is.
trade. Anyways, my understanding is Cedarville Conservation Area doesn't exist. So I'm intrigued that it's labeled that way because I thought that was a Google Maps thing issue. But the
They,
fact that
Well, the base map could just be it's just for it's from MassGIS. I'm not sure where they get their info from. Maybe they get it from Google, but
I'll ask Patrick about that.
they get it from the town.
Interesting.
yeah.
I'll I'll be happy to discuss history with anyone.
Maybe I'll include you, Hampton, because I feel like we've talked about this property like at length.
Yep.
But Will, so you had specifically asked about areas of critical concern and things like that. Do you have any specific questions you want to explore on this topic while we have this layer up?
Yeah, so this is helpful. I mean, I guess, so to take a step back, so I reached out to Fish and Game regarding multiple sightings I had of a Massachusetts Endangered Species Act listed species on private property that's open to the public, It is labeled priority habitat, where there's basically some sort of industrial size project going on at this property. So I just wanted to see, to check with Fish and Game if, they had any records regarding that development. And they sort of keep, I don't know if it's intentional or what, or if it's just one person. I don't know if they're overworked or something, but they just seem to be playing dumb in terms. Even I've even shared a screenshot from here, like outlining the particular priority habitat area that I'm concerned about. And they just still seem confused as to where the property is and what the parcel is. I don't know if like there's a way to export this view that makes it just crystal clear to them, like the property that I'm concerned about.
You could do
Yeah, the property
screenshot.
that I'm concerned about. Yeah, that's what I did the last time.
Did that work?
So,
For the
no, it didn't work, Kirsten. That's why I'm asking the question.
Oh,
Yeah, so you could yeah, so if you, well, I could just open up the no, sorry, the little share screen thing's the top of my, oh, there it goes. Let me just, so if you go to so if you go to the one that's probably has the most information, which is MassMapper,
Mm-hmm.
it opens up like this, and then the so for instance, I don't know what parcel you're talking about, but let's say it was like this one,
Yeah.
and you just wanted to turn on, you'd have
Oh, maybe
this,
that's the answer. Just having the parcel layer on.
yeah, so you basically, and then you would go to areas of
Mm-hmm.
environmental concern.
Mm-hmm.
You see the hatch pop up. So let's say this was the one you were curious about. So let's say it was 22 Pilgrim Way,
Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
You turn on ACEC, um, and then you just hit. You can either share the link, or
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you can print and say,
Mm-hmm.
22 Center Hill Road,
Yep.
and then you just hit create PDF, and then it basically just creates itself.
Nice.
So then you can kind of just, and then the all the layers are kind of hatched on there for you, and you just make
Yeah.
sure
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
turn too many layers on, or it just looks, it's just
Silly.
clunky.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean,
Okay.
that's how I'd recommend the easiest way to visualize it, I guess.
Okay.
If you wanted
Yeah,
to
I'll
test.
definitely give that a try. And this isn't in Plymouth. Um, by the way, it's on the border between Hanson and Halifax. So
Okay.
does every town have this facility of doing this?
Oh yeah, yeah. When you click on MassMapper, um,
Oh, well, I mean, I guess the other, you know how Plymouth has its own thing. Does every town in
yeah, they should by now.
Oh,
Yeah, it depends on it. Every town uses a different like server. So like a popular one's like is this is a pretty popular one, just what Plymouth does. Um, ArcGIS Online, then there's Access GIS, which is like another company that does it. So they all look a little different, but yeah, every town, should have to some extent a little GIS map on their website.
nice.
Um, but yeah, when you open up MassMapper, it shows basically, um, it's just filled with too much information, really. I mean,
oh
you know,
Yeah.
wow.
if you wanted
But
to
the
see where,
but the key thing with MassMapper is that the parcels are already overlaid on it, right?
yeah, that's the only one that's turned on other than the base map. The only thing that's turned on when you start it is tax parcels. So
Yeah.
it starts with a clean slate, um, which is nice.
Yeah, I think that could, well, that's definitely what was missing before. So I think this will clarify a little bit and give me a better idea as to what I'm working with here.
Yeah, but I will caution that it's several years old. The
Yeah.
for the town of Plymouth. Many of
Yeah.
the other towns are pretty much 2024 current. Um, Plymouth has been slow on its uptake.
Are any of us surprised?
I bet if you played around with the link, you could probably figure out when the last time Plymouth gave it to the state was, but I just don't know.
Mhm. That's okay.
Um, in any event, let's see where it was. Oh yeah, so yeah, we did that. Yeah, so basically, we could these regulatory maps are just only those things that these are basically MassMapper, but it only certain things turned on. So just wetlands turned on, just the habitat turned on. That way you can kind of see that quickly.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they're really just this link with a couple of things turned on for you.
Yeah.
So, but again, I'll give that link to Andrea.
No, this is super helpful.
Yeah,
Rather than toggling the different layers.
yeah,
Even those quick links will be really helpful. Because I mean, even if it's private property, if you're doing like a significant project, there would be permitting involved with that. That would be that you need to reconcile with, you know, existing regulations regarding development close to wetlands and development in priority habitat, right?
yeah. Any work in like a buffer zone or
Yeah.
that affects any
Yeah.
like an environmental receptor, as we like people call them, but would have to be permitted if needed. I don't
Yeah.
know the situation here, so it's hard to say, but yeah, typically if it affects anything, some type of permitting is needed.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah, so MassMapper is the kind of the big one with the most information. It's the one you kind of got to play with the most, but it also has the kind of information that's super helpful. So one of the things is these icons, which these are just info buttons, measuring, you can measure distances, create a link, which the same thing I showed you on the other one. You can draw, add text, print, and then you can download as well. Download in printer. Um, oh, sorry, you can export the data, but I don't think you need to do that for anything. But one good thing about this one is, like, for instance, if you wanted to um, this is the whole tech land. So if you wanted to see parcel information for, like, they don't own just one parcel. So it's a bunch of little parcels. So if you just was curious about, like, oh, how many parcels do they own, like, on the ocean side, you can kind of just draw like a polygon using using this one right here, the blue one with the polygon next to it.
Yeah.
And you can kind
Ooh.
of just draw a thing, all the parcels
Wow.
pop up, you can click it, all the information pops up, who
Wow.
owns it, blah, 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 and how big the acreage is in here, which is nice sometimes. And then if you'd like, you can export to Excel.
Yeah.
Nate, can you scroll over to where it says the owner's name?
Yeah, and then you have it in Excel. That's why
Yeah.
if you're curious, like, oh, like how much of their, I'm making all this up, how much of the land's on the ocean side, how much is on the Pine Hill side? You could say, oh, it's about 50-50. If you were just curious. It's like
Yeah.
little things like that. It's nice when you can export them. You can see who owns it. So like,
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay.
like Entergy Nuclear, Town
Yeah.
of Plymouth owns a few of the parcels.
Okay.
Manomet owns one, but I obviously just made like not a very accurate polygon. I was just
Yeah.
showing you, but it's nice to get, like I said, this is
Entergy.
more,
That's the nuclear power plant
Yeah.
area?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Entergy is listed as the owner, the Holtec LLC. And Nate, the parcel up on the top of Rocky Point, right there, that's the Manomet property.
Yeah. I was gonna ask.
Where the bird people?
But
Yep.
Hampton, is that the one that the town bought?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So it must not have been updated since the town bought it.
Exactly. That was my point.
yeah, and then you
Oh,
can
is
click,
that where the Rocky Point Trail is?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep, you got it.
Yeah.
yeah, and then so
So wait
that's
a minute,
again,
it's so if you so if I go over there, there's a trail or something I can hike around or something?
Town Trail. Yep.
Yeah, Kirsten, if you drive down Rocky Hill Road, there's
Yeah.
a sign there now, and this is a new development within the past, what, like 6 or 7 months that they've
Oh,
put the sign, and there's a little parking area, and
Yeah.
the trail, I believe, is like almost
Kind of a
completely
little, it's a
done.
driveway basically.
Well, so originally it was just a driveway because Manomet, which is Manomet Conservation Sciences, this migratory bird research group used to own it, but then the town bought it. And so there used to be a house. And so originally the path was just the driveway, but there is like an ocean bluff overlook. But since then, over the past couple months, a trail has been developed in addition to the standard driveway, which is not 100% complete yet.
That's right.
But it's a very beautiful property and a nice ocean overlook.
where's the Manomet
Steve.
group?
So their main headquarters is on
Is way over there.
White
Okay.
Horse Road. Is that what it's
That's
called?
where I've been. Okay.
Yeah. But this was like another area they had
Oh,
for bird
okay.
observing.
Good to know.
Yeah, so easily get parcel information, measuring, create a link. So you basically just click that in a link's made, just paste it to somebody. Same thing, you can print, like I think I just showed an example of that, and then export data, but I don't even know how that works. And then, so this one has a ton of info. So, anything really you can think of, the state puts a ton of info on here. It's pretty great. Some things you guys might be interested in is, this will tell you what streams have, migratory fish.
Hmm.
If you're into that. Things like that, beaches, seagrass, storm surge, if you're curious, about resiliency, things like that. It'll tell you that. So there's coastal marine features, conservation and recreation. That's probably, something this group might be interested in. So I already showed the ACECs. If this just tell this is some of these layers aren't actually what you think they might be. So this actually just tells you like if a community has a tax for a CPA. So I think it'll just cover the whole town. So it'll tell you like what the CPA tax is for your community compared to like your neighboring
Okay.
communities. Just not something you probably care to look at every day, but like it has a lot of stuff.
Could we look at like Town Brook for the migratory fish thing, or at like Plymouth Long Beach for like the coastal surge or whatever that layer was, just to see what that looks
Yeah, I
like?
want to play around with that layer for sure.
Yeah, so yeah, you just click on, so it'll tell you, migratory fish projects that have happened. So one of
Oh,
the neat things about this is like it'll tell you about impediments, and kind of like if like so for instance, like this one's red. So I bet if you click on habitat, it'll tell you the stream it takes. And I think it'll tell you if it's impaired, but I don't know. I forget where that was.
it was
Yeah,
down
so
at the
the
bottom.
Yeah.
It says red.
Yeah, so see how this pond or whatever that is red above the
Green,
the
yeah.
red dot? That means that this hasn't allowed them to go by yet, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So you
Poor
kind
little
of
things.
yeah, so like see this is green there, and then
Wow.
did you say Town Brook? Is that over here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or this one? I forget. This one?
yep,
Okay, so it shows the one remaining dam. Is that what that is there? Or am I looking at the wrong one?
No, we're
Looking
looking
at
at the wrong one.
that's the wrong one.
Oh.
That's,
Oh, sorry. I
now
don't
the
know.
next one north, there you
Yep,
go.
that's the one.
That's Town
Oh,
Brook.
so it shows the old dams, but it kind of shows that they were like removed or whatnot because it says no impairment.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
they
the
have
fish ladder.
ladders.
Oh, I
Ladder.
see.
What?
That's the old ladder.
Fish ladder.
Yeah, and then if you click on the link, you can kind of
Wow.
get some more info on it. But
So cool.
yeah, so
Can we look at Long Beach with the coastal? I forget what that layer was that talked about the coastal surge or whatever.
Storm surge.
Storm surge, yeah.
yeah, one second. there's so many things. I always forget what everything is.
Yeah,
Yeah, so this should so storm surge, and then if you a lot of times you won't really know um
Yeah,
what
why
else
is it
those
red? Why
are.
is it green? Why is it?
Oh.
Oh,
So if you click on the actual little icon, it's always a link. It'll tell you a little bit more info. So like, when I clicked on tax parcels, there's probably a way to download all the tax parcels in a list. Storm surge will, it tells you what the colors mean.
It's
Um,
interesting on here that like that area that's in red, it's like that area across from Burt's, that like marshy area. I'm surprised that that's red and not like the actual like barrier beach.
no.
yeah. Why is it? Is
Uh,
that's like a bad? Is red bad?
Yes, it's back up the Eel River is what it is. As as water would pour into the Plymouth Harbor, it would back up the Eel River and into that area. And if you go south from there, Nate, it would show that it's yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah. Now you wonder why people in the Eel River are all freaked out by the potential for backup during storms.
So in
I
other
would
words, this is if the tide rose high, this whole area would get flooded. Is that what that's kind of?
Yes, indeed. Almost all the way back up to Route 3. Certainly over the uh, remember Plymouth Plantation is to just to the east. You can see it on the map. And then this goes back up along Clifford all the way up to the Jordan Road, Clifford, uh, Sandwich Road, Old Sandwich intersection.
That's very interesting. I would have totally thought that that Plymouth Long Beach barrier beach would have been all red. So very
Well,
interesting.
maybe because it's not as risky for as many houses.
No, because the elevation right along coastal barrier beaches and riverbanks, you've got the highest elevation uh, in the area. It's behind the riverbanks out into the floodplain that you get the lower elevation and the water flow. It
Okay.
is the same way with barrier beaches. The barrier beaches are high, but it's behind the barrier beaches that you see the
It's about sea level where it is in,
you got
right?
it. It's not about overtopping necessarily by wave action. It's the elevation of the land regarding sea
Yeah.
level and
Okay.
sea level rise.
I wonder,
Interesting.
Nate, could we look at can we look at the Town Brook area again? I'm wondering because of this like NOAA grant and the work that they're doing there in terms of not just for the migratory fish, but also with like the increased like resilience around like storm surge and whatnot. I'm curious to see how that compares. That yeah,
Yeah,
hmm.
there's Town Brook.
Can we see it's oh, interesting because so that Eel River area looks so much worse.
Yep. And if you go, yeah, it's pretty bad.
So what are the people, is there an active mission to try to resolve that?
There's the Eel River Watershed Association, as well as and they are the yeah, the Eel River Watershed Association that is uh, actively involved in and attended the uh, attends meetings and has meetings of their own at chiltonville.org about engagement with regard to the Eel River Basin, the Eel River watershed.
I mean, is there a plan afoot to fix the problem?
Um, yeah, it's called Paris.
The climate agreements.
Maybe that I mean we'll have to that's a good question to raise to like David Gould and Mike Cahill when it comes to like the future of the like climate resiliency projects, because like there's this huge project happening at Town Brook, which is really great for so many reasons. Obviously, that's like a heavily trafficked tourist area, so there's a lot of reasons for that. It's downtown. Eel River is more residential and less touristy, but I wonder like how high that is on their list of priorities for like future climate resilience projects. So that's a good question.
Well,
It's not.
that's sort of one of the reasons why the NOAA grant is so important,
Why the
because
what is so important?
why the NOAA grant for the
Oh,
restoration is so important, because Mike Cahill can show you that in a 100-year storm, so regardless of hurricane effects, if you have a 100-year rainfall storm, that dam will fail. So, which then puts in jeopardy the 30 plus, residential and commercial property that's downstream of it.
is there a layer on here? And maybe I'm asking for too much. Is there a layer that shows like 100-year storm risk or anything like that?
Well, there's the FEMA flood layers. And I think I don't
Yeah, if you had
forget what the letters mean.
the A and the
The
AE.
V, I think. Yeah, it's not. Let me click it. I always forget what the numbers mean, but yeah, you can see the flood, basically the floodplain on these two.
But that doesn't, so that's supposedly what it would look like if we had 100-year flood rainfall.
I forget what the A means. Um,
Huh. By the way, I don't know if this has come up with, I'm so new to this whole thing. I had been talking to the Wildlands Trust people before I started talking with you guys, the sustainable people. And somebody there told me that there's grants have been given by the state to all coastal towns to research, identify, I think it was like marsh, or, if there is a flood, where is the marsh? Because it's going to migrate inland with the rising sea or something. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, they're municipal vulnerability program grants, MVP
Okay.
grants. We had one in Plymouth um, about 3 or 4 years ago to look at the saltwater intrusion into the aquifer. And it was determined that with the anticipated roughly 100-year rise to the end of the century, that saltwater intrusion, provided that the current um, rainfall precipitation input into the aquifer um, was uh, consistent or in accordance with predicted trends, that we would not experience significant saltwater intrusion into the aquifer. Um, and so that was a positive result. Um, it depends on a lot of the assumptions that were put into the model, but at this point, I trust it, so that it's upon us as the most invasive species on the planet to manage the resource that we have under our feet and make sure that our water quality is consistent through the decades to come.
So that's what it's really about, is making sure we have fresh water.
It's the municipal vulnerability program has got all sorts of aspects to it, and I would suggest that go to the state webpage on municipal vulnerability program and see what's there and what's available. And I'll be happy to be a resource in the background if you
Okay.
want more questions answered.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Hampton.
Hampton.
Nate, could we take a little peek at like wetland areas?
Yeah, so I think cultural, no, physical,
Yes.
hydrography, wetlands. Yeah, so DP wetlands, so it's basically they kind of break down the polygons and whatnot a couple of different ways. So you can see like general is good. Um, and it kind of gives you an icon based on what it is. So open water, beach, salt marsh, freshwater marsh, cranberry bog, things like that. So you'll notice that that layer turns on a few different hatches. Um, to kind of give you an idea, you could also do, if you really get into it, you could, if you do detailed, it breaks it down very specifically. So shrub swamp, a wooded swamp, cliff, dune, you know what I mean? So basically you can kind of see the like all different types of the wetlands. You can just turn on the outlines if you just want very general, very general. And I think I forget if that shows I don't know, vernal pools was a whole its own layer as well. So if you go to, and I can put that in the Word document too, but yeah, I the water features and then DP wetlands, and then you have a bunch of different options. I think you can, yeah, if you can you label them? Yeah, so then you can label them too. So open water, wooded swamp, deep marsh. Um, they're all different types of shrub swamp, I think, something like that. Um, so yeah, so you can see all different types of the wetlands too.
So I'm trying to think, like sometimes when like developers or whatnot will go to the Conservation Commission, they'll be proposing, I don't know, like a septic project or like an in-ground pool or something like that. And it may be like close to a wetland area or have like a little bit of overlap. Can we possibly like zoom in on some kind of property to see like what it would look like where a wetland area like is abutting or overlapping somebody's property?
Yeah, like this one's a good example. Probably I don't know if this is what so someone these are all condos, right? With a long driveway, and there's a pond in the front. It looks like they figured out what their buffer zone was for the wetland, and they kind of just built
Built
this
around
big
it.
wrap around. They basically built every spot they could around it. So that's what you'll kind of see a lot with these
And you
Is that what you mean?
and you can use that tool to see like the distance.
Yeah, I don't, and maybe Hampton would know better than me. I thought there used to be a
Yeah, if you
publicly
go to the
available buffer, I'm sorry,
if
offset tool. I just
upper left, well, if you go to the upper left, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, no, I know this, but I maybe I'm just thinking of what I have on my computer. But I used to think the like if you had GIS on your computer, you could just click this polygon and then do a offset, which is
Yeah,
what you do.
you're an ArcGIS nerd.
Yeah, well, I thought you could do it on this too, but apparently you can't.
I
So yeah,
don't think so.
so
I've
they're probably
tried.
100 feet. Yeah, they're about 100 feet. So that would probably make sense as to why they built like that.
Yep.
So so you'll see, yeah, you'll see kind of.
And so all the different abbreviations there, like you were saying, like if you want to look at wetland areas at the high level, you don't need to have it all broken down. But I'm just wondering, like, when it comes to like the rules and regulations about like what you can build where, when someone talks about like a wetland area, does it matter like the specific like subset, or is it just like a wetland area is a wetland area?
I'd have to Google this. I always forget. Like everything has a different buffer zone. So like there's riverfront areas,
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah,
there's
river
wetland areas.
river
You have to be so many feet from a river. If it's a wild and scenic river, you have to be so many feet. If it's a wetland, you have to be so
Okay.
many feet.
right. If the typical riparian buffer is 200 feet from the river's edge, the pond is 100 or 35, 50, 100 according to the Plymouth bylaws, and it gets down to the town level. I know we're all Plymouthians here, but it can be a mind-boggling set of regulations, and I'm sure that uh, Nate doing things from town to town is, it can make one's head explode pretty quickly.
Yeah, like some, you do a project in one town, you can flag the wetlands only from, you know, April 1st on. Other ones you can flag in certain months. There's all sorts of different rules in every town.
It hurts.
Some towns do state level, which I actually like. So like New Hampshire, Rhode Island, they have DES and DEM instead of DEP, and they do everything statewide, which is slightly more consistent. But yeah, so anyway, that's what you'd probably want it. Physical resources, hydrography, sorry, it's late. Then DP wetlands, and then you can kind of see all that.
This is awesome. Thank you so much, Nate.
And then
So I
a
know
lot of
we're
times it's good to turn on, if you're ever interested in wetlands, it's always good to turn on the vernal pools too. I just don't know.
yeah, can we look at that Rocky Point Preserve, that new property on, where am I blanking? What's the name of that road? The PowerPoint Road. What's that called?
Powerhouse Road?
Yeah, is it Powerhouse Road, that new property that we were just talking about? I know there's a bunch of vernal pools in there. Is that this one?
Yeah, this is
Right next to the
this is
power
the
plant,
one
yeah.
at Rocky Hill Road, the former
Yes. Oh,
MassMapper.
Rocky Hill Road, yeah.
Oh, here they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard from Nate that he was working on certifying more vernal pools in this area. So there may be more in there that are not yet
Yeah,
flagged.
1, 2, 3, 4. Right.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
I don't know why the dot's so little.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think they, again, I don't know. Like you could Google it. There's a certain thing that has to go through to be a certified versus a potential. That's why they have the potential layer and has a pretty significant amount in it. But
Okay.
but yeah, I think actually there's a place in Kingston that has a ton right here.
Yeah.
Does anybody know what this is?
Kingston
That-
Town Forest, maybe?
Is that Muddy Brook, something like that?
Is that the
Could be.
northeast
Norris?
forest property?
Where's Route 80? Or Colony Place from there?
I think that's
Colony
fine.
Place is right here.
I can't tell what you're pointing at.
Yeah, Colony Place is just south of 44. Yep, you
Oh,
got
here
it.
we go.
Yeah, that's I'm gonna say that's the town forest, Kingston's town forest. I've wandered around in there. That's all
Yeah.
vernal pools, huh?
Yeah,
Yep.
so they have a ton. I don't know if any place in Plymouth has a lot, but
Yeah,
Miles Standish obviously has a
What's
bunch.
Miles Standish?
there's one or two in Pine Hills.
Yep.
Wow.
But anyway. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else I wanted to.
Yeah, I want to be conscious of your time, Nate, and everyone else's time. Bonnie, you've been very quiet. Do you have any questions or anything you want to explore? And Holly, is there anything in particular you're interested in?
No, I just wanted to learn how to use this tool, and I can see us using it. Now I understand a little bit more about the water, what the water guys see and talk about all the time, which is a good thing.
Hi,
But yeah,
Holly.
thank you, Nate, for doing this, because this is really helpful, and I can see exploring it.
Yeah, and that Word document too, the Word document with the different links and like breaking down what's useful for what, that's really helpful too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I had
this
run
is
across
awesome.
this tool and I really didn't know very much about navigating through it. So this will help me. I'll probably use it more out west than I will in Plymouth.
You go out to Western Mass or something?
I have a house. Yeah, actually, I'm technically a resident of Otis, not of Plymouth. So,
Okay, you're basically one of our own, Bonnie. You might as well be. You contribute a lot here.
yeah, well, I spend half the year here. But once it gets warm, I open my house up there and I'm there most of the time in the warm weather. And I'm only in Plymouth like 2 or 3 days a week.
Will or Kirsten, are there any other questions or items you wanted to explore?
No, I had no idea there was so much information out there like this. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Nate, for doing this for us, and Andrea, thanks for putting this together. This is really helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my pleasure. It was
great.
Will's idea, so I thank you, Will, for the suggestion, and Nate very much for your expertise and your willingness to help. Very much appreciated. And Hampton too. I know you're an expert on many things, so always welcome to have your input. Was there anything else you wanted to add, Nate, or do you feel like you've sufficiently covered it?
No, no, that was fun. Like I said, it's all there. It's just a lot of times you just don't know what links to click and stuff like that. It's all publicly available. So if it helps you guys find it quicker,
Yeah, I was getting
I'm glad.
dizzy looking at all the different links and understanding the different layers and things, so it definitely helped orient things. So I really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
that's why I like that one that's like just the parcel maps. You can just click on them and it has a couple of base layers to choose from, and then that's it. It doesn't let you do much else. Um, Sometimes those are more helpful than the ones that have too much information. So
Yeah.
um, that's kind of why that's why I started with those. But
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you everyone for your time.
You.
Endless
you-
appreciations to you,
thanks.
Nate. All right, have a good evening, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right,
Good
bye.
night.